Hey ho, this is Septi, and today we're talking about a digital artist who is so depraved, so corrupt and vile that I couldn't help but to talk about her. Meet Yonooshi, the aforementioned profligate who's so open about being an absolute mongrel that even her Twitter bio says that she has no limits when it comes to commissions. When someone has no boundaries set up to create artwork for money, you know you have a recipe for disaster. Normally when it comes to degenerates making art online, I tend to stay out of it, as there's only so much you can do to sabotage their behavior and your complaints will likely fall on deaf ears. I usually only grow concerned when the art involves a protected group or said artwork is borderline illegal. When I say protected group, I'm of course talking about CSA survivors, minority groups, and children. And today's candidate chose to completely disrespect and violate these types of people. So, if it wasn't clear enough, Yonooshi is a not safe for work artist, so Rule 34 is to be expected. What I didn't expect to see is the fact that this person not only has a lot of work around the clock, but her fanbase is also just as bad, if not worse than she is. Take example 1. You might remember the names Neko, Koda and Galbanum, aka Yopalgal. Regardless of your opinion of them, as in recent times they have gotten into some controversy due to reasons such as stalking, doxing and alike. I can understand being mad at these people or wishing they leave and not return to social media for a long time. However, what I can't understand is knowing full well that these people are in fact victims of both grooming and CSA, and using said knowledge to fulfill your disgusting fantasies by depicting them being brutally molested and I'll be sure to censor and blur out the image, but holy hell is this absolutely disgusting. The depiction of them crying and being in pain is all the more disturbing when I look at the comment section. Remember what I said about Yonooshi's fanbase also being a bunch of morally corrupt degenerates? Well, look no further than these comments under said image. I wish I could violate these two girls, especially that green girl on the left.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
It goes without saying, but Rule 34 is not exactly known for being subtle, so depraved individuals like this one are to be expected. Just openly stating how you wish to violate actual SA victims, and before you try to make the fictional argument, it's still concerning that you would have fantasies about raping anyone, fictional or not. The next comment took it to a whole new level. The fact that both Galbanum and Neko Koda are both victims makes them so much fucking harder. I love a broken woman so much. I so wish I could get a taste of their delicious victim bodies. Sometimes I genuinely wonder how humanity could fall so deep to the point where people are this open about their own decadence. Now, I already knew about this piece for a few weeks now, as I was proof checking if the not safe for work drawing I made months ago involving Kamen Rider and Neko Koda, with consent mind you, was successfully removed due to the situation escalating to a whole new level, and I happened to see that disgusting piece of artwork. And look, I know there are people watching this, thinking to themselves, but didn't you also make a non-con drawing featuring Carmen a few months back? To address that real quick, yes, I have. And it's one of my biggest regrets in recent memory. While the revenge art was first provoked by her doing the same thing to Neko Koda, it didn't make it okay for me to sink down to her level in retaliation. After I took a break from social media for some time and had time to reconsider my actions, I made a promise to myself that I'm going to set up strict boundaries and never repeat these mistakes again. I also promised myself to stand up for anyone who deserves it. And while Neko Koda and Gal are not exactly great people in hindsight, they sure as hell don't deserve this. So for that reason alone, I have more than enough inspiration to call out this absolute degeneracy. To clarify in case you don't know what that word actually stands for, degenerate means having low or no moral values, understanding the benignity, and a complete decline in redeeming qualities. I'm a firm believer that most people can change if they really try. I want to believe that it's never too late to turn back as long as you don't cross a certain line. But with these types of people, I just have no hope at this point. See example B. Callmenil, an acquaintance of mine, already made a video talking about Yonooshi and even messaged the degenerate who expressed how much he revels in the idea of sexual assault. And this is how that went. TLDR, Neil expressed their disgust for Yonooshi's actions towards people they're close to, warned this person that they're unknown nuance hunter, doxer, and hacker, with every intention to put a stop to this type of behavior, and this was the response they were given. Hello, to you Yonooshi, Mrs. Known Hunter, Doxer, Hacker, and Mafioso, I say this to your face. The fact that both Cal and Neko Koda are both victims makes them so much harder and so much more desirable. I absolutely love a broken woman so much that I can't help but get hard from merely hearing a woman saying that she's been and has a history of being on the receiving end of sexual assault attempts. More so if those attempts were successful. I so wish I could get a taste of their victim bodies, and I really wish they went into more detail about their they endured, so I don't have to fill in the salacious details myself.
Degenerates like you belong on a cross.
I don't think I need to say anything. It should go without saying that this person is absolutely f***ed in the head, and he's just one of many examples of the type of audience that Yonooshi appeals to. People these days are so loose on the internet with no strict rules to prevent them from doing whatever they want in an environment with no faces or names, they think they're practically invulnerable behind the screen. And while their motives and background story can be questioned as to how people could fall this deep into degenerate circles, most of the time the answer doesn't even matter. Some people just can't be helped, and attempting to silence them only makes them more repellent. While I am not a pro-censorship or cancel culture supportive person, neither am I suggesting that authorities must be involved unless the harm is exceptional and unavoidable. I still believe when people abuse their freedom of expression, there should be some form of repercussion, so we can prevent other people from believing that this type of behavior is acceptable in any way, shape or form. Aside from your average run-of-the-mill not safe for work artwork, Yonooshi likes to target people who are YouTubers. This is a controversial topic, but I believe if a YouTuber is a grown adult and consents to Rule 34 being made of their OC with acceptable boundaries, it shouldn't cause much ruckus in the long scheme of things. The problem comes from the fact that a lot of Rule 34 is usually made out of spite towards the individual, and I know that's the case when said artwork depicts humiliation, repulsive fetish stuff, sexual assault, and alike. One example is the YouTuber Chinjireta. The amount of artwork this moron made of this person is stalker levels of creepy. One artwork in particular, as it depicts one of Chin's characters being CSA'd, literally. I looked up the character sheet and it says that the character in question, Aika, is only 5 years old.
Oh! Ew! Dude! What the fuck?
And no, not in animal years where it's an adult, in human years. But if that's not enough proof, the character sheet also shows that she's around 30 pounds and only 3 feet tall, basically a toddler. Furthermore, the tags under the upload are just circumventing around the fact that the drawing is just CSA. You have things like age difference, older male, surprised, younger female, tears. So not only is this piece of artwork depicts sexual assault, it also falls under the category of cub or furry lolicon, which is classified as child pornography under federal and many country laws. While it may not depict an actual child, people will try to work around it and make excuses as to why the character being a child is not the reason for their attraction, but something about this as a victim of grooming and CSA myself makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. Especially when you consider the fact I was also 5 when it happened to me. I've only seen one sane comment under the post, and well, I'll just read it out for you alongside with the response it got. Aika is 5 years old, you degenerate. Why the fuck do you search for it if you don't like it?
That's beyond fucked up, Max. It's an actual fucking felony.
It goes without saying, but anyone who unironically believes in the doll like don't watch argument in cases like these already proved that their intelligence is way below what they think of yours. Ignoring your problems doesn't make them go away, neither is merely pointing them out. This type of artwork is very much predatory and illegal, so I highly recommend anyone watching this who's 18 or above to report it. Since even the Rule 34 TOS states that you're not allowed to post anything that looks underage. On to our next example. There is a small commentary channel known as Linlin, whom I personally dislike and think she's a two-faced hypocrite who doesn't belong in the CC until she matures up and is more prepared to deal with both like this. I'm going to put that aside because it doesn't matter how much you dislike someone when you know that they're in fact a minor. The last thing you should think of is sexualizing their persona. Whether or not this persona accurately resembles resembles the person in real life is irrelevant. This is not acceptable behavior by any means. Leave minors out of your depraved fantasies. Now, Linlin is someone who complained about Rule 34 before, and just as I predicted, this only causes people to make more artwork out of spite as a response, and leave comments like this one.
This bitch is so much hotter as a girl.
Ah yes, I should also mention that Linlin is an M2F, aka a trans girl, and Yonooshi is one of those degenerates who likes to depict people as hermaphrodites, or futas for short. I don't mean to have kink shaming as a theme on my channel, but having a fetish for a bird disorder, and it being this popularized is a whole new level of what the fuck. The other example I have is, while not a minor, but another essay victim, Shannon Campbell, better known as Creepshow Art. She's being depicted as a victim of dual essay by the two personas of Hopeless Peaches, one of her victims of slander from 2 years ago. Unfortunately, people like Yonooshi seem to have some sort of twisted vendetta against these types of people who are more vulnerable than your average human. Regardless of how terrible someone is, certain taboo matters should never be crossed under any circumstances. Otherwise, you not only risk sinking down to their level, but you may also lose all your privileges to judge anyone else from that point forward. And what could be more condemnable than combining everything I said up to this point and targeting someone who's not only a minor, but also a victim of multiple cases of grooming and CSA. This artwork of the user, Temperflesh, the victim of Cristalli, being essayed on screen with a very disturbing depiction. This is almost the lowest you can sink when it comes to abusing your rights to freedom of expression. The only way something like this could be topped is if the drawing in question depicted a real-life child instead of their online persona, which is something I haven't seen Yonooshi do just yet. But when you have no limits in your bio, and this is what you have to show for in your resume, it's only a matter of time before we sink to a whole new level. Now, I already listed the prominent examples of Yonooshi's gallery. Aside from a lot of non-con, futa, and borderline bestiality imagery, I noticed something else while doing my research of this person's handiwork. Most, if not all of these, were uploaded and presumably commissioned by the same person known as Contourline, whom I believe is the same person running a fake Hopeless Peaches account on Twitter to post Rule 34 artwork of her. By now, I believe you understand the kind of person Yonooshi is and the type of audience she's trying to appeal to. If you are someone who doesn't know about these things or doesn't approve of any of these actions as a fan of this person, I highly suggest distancing yourself if you don't want to be labeled as one of them. I am not encouraging a lynch mob or any form of harassment towards this individual. That's not something I stand for or approve in any way. But Yonooshi doesn't deserve your support or money. More awareness should be spread about this individual to let it be known that this type of business practice is revolting and unacceptable. I am aware of the fact that making this video will potentially make me a target of their next handiwork as a YouTuber with a mascot, but some things needs to be said.
If you try and fuck me, I kill you!
And I'd rather take risks every now and then instead of just standing by and let these parasites grow an audience. An acquaintance of mine who goes by vxrabbit will also release a video about this person. I will leave it in the description below when it comes out, and I highly recommend you check it out and give him some support. And you might be one of those types of people who will just say, "Oh Septi, you're so sensitive. Getting mad over pixels on a screen, don't you know that these are just drawings?" Well, no shit, Sherlock. Thank you for giving me a technical report that these are in fact drawings. I never would have figured that out on my own. Now listen here, Captain Obvious. The problem isn't the fact that they are drawings. It's what they are depicting, the people it's affecting, who didn't deserve any of this repulsive bullshit that Yonooshi and her fanbase are doing. There's always place and time for creative freedom, so long it's not at the expense of other people. But hey, that is just my humble, perfectly reasonable opinion and my own personal belief. But what do you think about all of this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you made it this far in the video and your subscription button is still red, why don't you change that if you'd like to see more content from me in the future? I am currently aiming towards 3k subs. If you help me reach that goal, I'll be very appreciative. And as always, I shall continue to make more videos whenever I get the chance, but until then, I'm Septi and goodbye.